Right, so real simple. I mean, this is kind of the go-to, just kind of the old standby, you know, for seafood. Old Bay. I don't use a lot of it because I don't like my food really salty, and that's one of the reasons I do like this, is that it's not particularly salty. Very simple. I mean, the only ingredients in it: celery salt, spices, including red pepper and black pepper and paprika. So I mean, it's really simple. I don't get into a lot of spices like garlic and onion because I get sick of them, and a lot of times garlic will give me indigestion. So, you know, some of this on there. It's something that you can kind of take in and not really get tired of it. You can have it consistently, and it's because it's, you know, I'm not jumping for joy to have it. I'm not like, whoa, it's so flavorful, but it has flavor and I don't mind it, which I think in the long run for bodybuilding is the key, because most of the food is going to get a little bit tiring, but you need to be able to, you know, tolerate it. You have to have it and not mind it. And ideally, you have it and you like it, and it tastes good, rather than just put up with it. Telling you, you know, getting a system down where you can prep as much food as possible. I mean, from you know, what's preferable, it'd be great if you could prep every meal fresh and have it, you know, hot and steamy right off the stove. But if you're going to do that, I mean, you're going to spend half your day in the kitchen, and it's just going to be a total, you know, pain in the ass, and it's going to make your life that much more difficult. You know, unless you have someone there who's going to just, you know, be at your disposal, just prepping food for you all day. But, you know, I don't know who that is. If you can do that, that's great. But if you're somebody who's got to get it done because you got other stuff to do, it's definitely in your best interest to figure out how it is that you can prep stuff in bulk, and do it at least as the fewest number of times a week, or every so many weeks as possible.
The most efficient way, kind of.
Do it the most efficient way possible.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sure as anything, things are going to come up, and something's going to get hectic, and you got to go here, you got to go there. So, I was supposed to cook today, and all of a sudden you don't have your food for the day. There's no way you're gonna. I don't see how you're gonna maintain consistency with it over the long run and be successful at it. The best thing to do is just have it, get it done, have it there ready for you when you need it, and then there's no excuses, nothing standing in your way of doing it. And doing the fresh herbs works out good, because anything you have left over that you don't use, you know, don't leave it sitting in a bowl like this, because it'll hold all the moisture. The best thing to do is just take a sheet pan like this and just spread it out over the pan and leave it overnight. It'll dry out, and you have it there. I throw it in my rice. I throw it on eggs or whatever. So it won't go to waste, and it's much more flavorful than anything you're going to, buy in the store that's probably been sitting there for quite a while.
So how long, what do you cook it at, bud?
So the broiler, it just has, there is just one setting, and that's broil.
Yeah.
Some ovens have a high broil and low broil. I would always use the high setting. It's probably going to take a good 10 minutes 10, possibly 15. The oven, as the longer it's on, it's going to get hotter and hotter. So towards the end, the trays are going to definitely be in there for a shorter period of time. But I just look in to see when the fish is started to brown a little bit on top. And with cod, you could tell because the fish starts to separate. So I like to get it when it's just started to separate, but it's not all like, hasn't all fallen apart. Because you want it to try to stay together. That way when you're trying to handle it, whether it's to vacuum seal it or to put it in your Tupperware, things like that, it's not all just one big mess of broken fish.
There you go, man.
So what I do is as they come out, I just kind of prop them up. I use a 2x4 just to whatever fluid does come out. When you're putting it in Tupperware and things like that, you want to let everything cool first, because otherwise it's just going to steam in there and all fluid is going to collect. It's just going to get nasty. So you want to let everything, all the fluid drain off. Like when you cook chicken, what I do is I take one of these pans and I have a cooling rack that I place inside the pan, put the chicken on it as it comes off the grill, and all the fluid and stuff will drip down, because you want the stuff to be dry. Both if you're going to put it in Tupperware, and then also if for later on, if you're going to vacuum seal it, you want everything to be cool and have dried and let all the moisture and fluid drip off. So just as one comes out, just put the next one in. As these cool, obviously that one just came out of the oven. This one's been out the longest. It's pretty cool by now. So what I do is I just set up my scale here. And because I do about 12 ounces a meal, for 2 meals a day, we put in about 1 pound 8 ounces per container.
You want to explain why you use glass instead of plastic?
Yeah, it's something I've talked about before. Rather than use plastic Tupperware, I use glass. I've had these same ones for years. They last, and they don't get nasty. Plastic gets gross after a while, and plus it's kind of lousy enough that you're taking food with you, wherever you go, and you're eating on the run. So I think at least eating out of glass, it at least allows you to feel a little bit more human than eating out of plastic. It's just a little bit nicer, And on top of it, I do reheat my food a little bit, before I have it. So I don't think that food. First, I don't think food sitting in plastic is ideal. Period. And then I think reheating in it isn't the greatest idea. There's no way you're going to totally avoid it. I mean, it's there. It's become such a huge part of our lives. It's not really feasible to avoid it entirely, but I think if you could find ways to limit it, I think it's not a bad idea. And they're finding out all the time more things about plastic and ways in which the chemicals that are used to make it and to harden it, and different phthalates and things like that, and either toxic effects that they have on the body, or ways in which they may act as xenoestrogens, meaning artificial estrogens, which is an interesting point, because just because something resembles estrogen doesn't necessarily mean it's going to act like estrogen does. I mean, it's possible that it does, that it will actually mimic it and attach attach itself to the receptor site and exert an action that is just like estrogen. But there's also the possibility that it will occupy the receptor site and not exert estrogenic activity and simply, tie up the receptor site so that actual estrogen can't do its job, which in essence it would be acting as an anti-estrogen. Which way does it act? I don't think anybody's really clear on that yet, because even in certain foods like cabbage and other cruciferous vegetables, they contain things that will bind to the estrogen receptor sites, or they'll there's a whole host of phytoestrogens, even soy, and people still, it seems like there's controversy as to whether it will exert estrogenic activity or if it will simply just bind to the receptor site and keep estrogen from doing its job. I don't know enough about it. I'm not all that knowledgeable on it, but it's interesting. It's just an interesting concept, and until there's more known about it, or at least until I know more about it, I can't really say one way or another. And for all I know, you could be being exposed to plastic and it could be acting as an anti-estrogen, which then again is probably not isn't great either, because anything that's gonna disrupt your system isn't great in terms of optimal health. But of course, as a bodybuilder, we all seek to limit estrogenic activity. So I guess in that case, if it did in fact act like that, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
So how many meals are you typically having a day, Evan? Like this close to?
Right now, I do 6 meals a day. It's all whole food. Off season, I usually can get away with cutting it down to five meals. It's a little bit more comfortable for me in terms of frequency. 6 meals, I really got to, if I have my first meal at 9 and I try to be done at the very latest, have my last meal by 9. It's really only a 12-hour window to fit in 6 meals. So you're eating very often and close together, which I can really only handle pre-contest when my appetite is up and I'm doing more cardio and the food I'm eating is cleaner, versus in the off season when food is maybe meals are a little bit more heavy and calorie dense. 6 meals in an off season is almost it's very difficult. I'm sure if I worked at it, I could do it. But one thing I do try to do in the off season is to at least give my body a little bit of a break, because you're throwing all this food at your body all the time and saying, okay, here, digest all this, and I think that can be pretty taxing on your system. Truth be told, I mean, from a health perspective, I think one of the healthiest things is a limited calorie intake, and even periods of fasting, I think is probably optimal for longevity and for health. Of course, this is bodybuilding, so it's how do you make progress, and how do you do what you need to do to be competitive, but also maybe at certain times when you're trying to give your body a rest, how do you incorporate other things?